Hello, I'm joined with my mother today. We're in New York City on a lovely little trip together, and I wanted to take some time to sit and talk and dissect her beautiful little brain about what it was like having, you know, the world's best daughter growing up.
You're the best daughter I have?
I'm the only daughter she has. But I wanted to talk a little bit about what it was like having a daughter that we now know has ADHD, and maybe some of the signs that we had missed, what that looked like growing up and how that changed over time, and maybe some of your experiences too would be cool to hear about. I wanted to first talk about something that we talked about on the way here, which was my main fidget growing up. What was that?
It would have been your hair twirling.
Yeah.
Hayley was a ferocious hair twirler.
Oh my god.
And
yeah,
I don't think that was uncommon, but
yeah,
I think it was just the amount, the volume at which you
constant
fiddled.
It was
with your
always.
hair. It was.
Yeah.
It was pretty constant.
And you know, I still do it all the time. Like there are pictures and videos of me doing it still. I wouldn't do it now with my hair back, but actually, I don't know, do you remember me doing this? Is that I would play with it and then I would put it in my mouth?
Yes, all the time.
It's so ridiculous. I still do that.
And a lot of times you would go, hey mom, it's really soft. It's really soft. Feel it, it's really soft.
Oh my god, it's so embarrassing. I do that to Riley. I do that now still. I'm like, my hair's so soft, you need to feel this piece. Because to me, that's like sensory heaven. Is like how soft hair can be. Like that's like the best feeling in the world. Yeah, I think because that was such a main fidget growing up, and I got so used to, you just used to brush through my hair like crazy because I had the curls and you were getting through knots and stuff too. I was so used to having my hair touched. It became like a space of comfort for me, and I was actually just thinking about the fact that when I go see my massage therapist, I always say the head, spend time on the head, because it's my favorite place to like, it's sensory heaven to me, is like my hair and my head.
And some people, it's the opposite.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Absolutely. It is completely opposite to people. Yeah, I think there were a lot of little things maybe while I was growing up. We were talking about the fact that I was an extraordinarily loud child and always talking and singing and doing something, running around, playing, like never sitting still.
Singing.
Always.
Singing.
Yeah, which now looking back, pretty obvious signs of ADHD. But why do you think that was maybe overlooked?
Well, I think it's interesting that you say, you know, it was missed, because as I mentioned to you before, like we were very read parents.
Yeah.
I read a lot of materials, and I did, you know, I felt like I was pretty informed. We have a very small family, so I didn't have a lot of other kids to look at for examples.
And my older brother's a lot different.
Yeah, that's true. He is different. But I did have a lot of kids over, and, you know, I was able to, you know, look at other kids. So I don't think anything just jumped out as being
not normal.
Yeah, well, normal, but you know, really, really different.
Yeah. I think I just came across as like a loud, sassy kid that just like was full of life, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah, absolutely.
There were maybe moments.
I think there were more serious things that we were, you know, looking for, making sure that you could see and hear. And
yeah, that's fair.
I mean, you're looking for those really serious things that you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. One of the instances that you love to tell people about was my my car ride, and how there and back it was a challenge. What was that?
So you were 3 years old, and we were going from Vancouver to Penticton, which is about a 4-hour drive, and we were going to stop in Hope, which was about an hour drive. And I think we'd already stopped in one little town on the way, so I think we had about 45 minutes to get there. And you're in the car, and you were saying, I want out, let me out, I want to get out, you know, and that went the entire time. And I think, you know, as a parent and having read advice, be prepared, have food, have little things to do, but literally nothing. could console you. Nothing.
No.
And just the whole way. Let me out, 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 let me out.
Yeah, that
You
stubbornness.
lost a box of toys.
I lost my bed.
You did. You
My
lost
parents-
your canopy bed.
my
Not your
parents-
parents. But
My,
anyways.
my parent, not this one, was like, Hayley, if you don't shut the hell up, we're going to take away your beautiful princess bed. And I was like, bet. And I kept going.
Because you were also stubborn.
I was
yeah?
so stubborn. I was like, yeah, I
do
dare
it.
you to. And then they did.
Do
and
it.
I
Do it.
lost
Do
my
it.
bed. So, and then I used to have to work to get those boxes of toys back. But
That wasn't from a book.
this
That technique.
this
that was
idea-
just pure frustration, I think.
this idea that I was so inconsolable, I think, was partially, like you had mentioned before when we talked about this, was the discomfort of the car seat.
Yeah, when you think about that, right, you are strapped in, you are trapped. You
Yeah.
can't get out. And I don't think you had a sense of time.
Nope.
So when we're saying it's only 45 minutes, 3-year-olds going, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
And so it was just let me out, let me out. And the fact it didn't ease up and there wasn't anything to give you. But you also slept very well in that car seat.
Yes, after a good play and getting some of that energy out. But I still don't like, some types of transportation, like planes and some cars and trains
Yeah.
and stuff. I can get somewhat claustrophobic in. And so I think that that's just kind of part of it. But also having just like this excess energy that I wish I could get out at all times, which was partially why I would go for the fidgeting. And it would be, all of these other things to like get that energy out. But
And the constant writing.
constantly
That was another
writing.
thing you did, like really, really, really young. We would have to get you little notebooks.
Yep.
You would always gravitate towards, I want this notebook or that notebook. And
Which
you
is
would
still a
always,
thing.
You would always write, even when you couldn't write.
Yeah. It was
You
just
were
lines.
You were always doing lines, sitting there on the stairs, doing lines, writing. That
Sitting
was,
there on the stairs doing lines sounds like I was a coked up baby. But yes, and what was my first word? It was pen, right?
It was pen.
There you go. I was hyper focused at a young age, but yeah, I think that's part of ADHD that a lot of people don't think about is the hyper focus, is that ability to become like so attached to something that nothing else matters, which I did a lot of. One Direction, I was hyper focused on that. I wrote a 600-page freaking book on One Direction about, it was a fan fiction, whatever. I fell in love with one of them. It's no big deal.
You trained me how to recognize every one of their voices.
Oh
and
my
then you would
God.
play me a clip and I'd have to say which one it was that was singing. So to this day I know each of their voices.
Yeah, but I think
was
like
funny.
that's not also uncommon. Like young girls having an obsession with a band, like that's
No.
not uncommon.
No, it didn't jump
But-
out for sure.
It was, I think, how quickly I would, there were so many things that I would become so attached to, like the Webkins and having way too many Webkins and our joint interest in Webkins
I did think they were cute.
that we still have in your basement. So,
I didn't get
we're
rid
attached.
Of all. Got rid of some of them. They were very cute.
Yeah, and I think too, it's important to note that like back in 2001 when I was 3 and having some of these like really intense episodes and stuff, there was so little known about ADHD, and that at that time they were
Yeah.
only just starting to do these studies, and those studies though only involved boys, and so there was no real way to recognize that that's what was going on within me. And the DSM-5 didn't recognize ADHD as an adult disorder until 2016. And so the fact that I got my diagnosis when I got my diagnosis makes sense.
Yeah.
I also built a lot of accommodations for myself without even knowing that's what I was doing. Like in high school, the fact that I sat at the front of class for almost all of my classes so that I wasn't distracted by everybody else and that I could actually see and but it's a horrible experience, high school, in that it's not built for people like me.
It's a very institutional sort of environment, and it's got those horrible fluorescent lights, and
Yeah.
not the and you're around a bunch of people that you wouldn't necessarily normally hang out with
Nope.
in day-to-day life, and it's one of those situations where I think they teach to the lowest common denominator. So
Yeah.
there were people that were much more difficult than you in school.
Yeah.
In fact,
I thrived in high school.
Exactly, and they probably,
Yeah.
so nobody would have thought that because they're all focused on,
Yeah.
those boys particularly that were just, all over.
Yeah.
So they're not going to focus on, gee, she's really attentive and she sits up front and she gets hyper focused on.
And she gets 98% in everything. Yeah, it was a hyper focus of mine was performing well in high school, but like I was having panic attacks every day because I was overstimulated. There was way too much for me to focus on, and because it was a hyper focus of mine, I overachieved in everything, and I wanted to be a part of everything, and so I like overcommitted to everything, and I assumed then that meant university was going to be great. I was like, well, I fucking killed it at high school. Like, university is going to be great. And then I get there, I'm like, oh, this is the worst. Because I went to Simon Fraser, and the classes were these massive auditoriums of people talking with friends that know each other. And, like, the, professors are boring as fuck. And they speak most of their, information instead of having it on the board
And
or
they
having
lectured.
some
Sort of sage on the stage. There's no interaction. You're just sitting in that chair for an hour and a half.
Yeah, I'm not talking or asking questions, and I'm not
No.
engaged at all, and so
That's rough.
I completely did not do well in university, and adding the social component of not knowing anybody and being expected to make friends was so hard. And so it was just like too much for me. I ended up dropping out after 2.5 years. But you did your undergrad, you did a master's. Why do you think that you were able to do that?
I did hyper focus too, but it just worked for me. I loved the environment. I just got really, really dialed in. I could go for these crazy long periods of studying for 6 hours straight, and sometimes I would get up at 4 a.m. to study for something, and I thrived in that environment.
Yeah.
In both my programs.
But earlier in your school life, you didn't.
Oh, I was thriving. I was just doing it in the hallway. So grade up to grade 3. Yeah, I had a desk out in the hall, and I don't think, like you said about the typical sort of boy ADHD where they're running around, like, I don't think I was that. I was loud.
Yep.
And I was had a strong, very strong presence, and my parents sort of wrote it off to, that's because we educated everything you needed to know for the first few years.
Right.
And so, but it didn't bother me having my desk out in the hall because it enabled me to be just really focused. I felt
Crazy.
Special actually having it.
It was an actual accommodation, not a punishment.
Yeah.
Which they didn't realize. But
Yeah, no, it was great.
you have mentioned to me before the paper clips that you fidget with.
Still fidget with.
Yeah.
So when I'm teaching in class, I'll often have that paper clip, and I'll be playing with that, and I decimate many a lecture.
Yeah, so I've had my hair twirling, I've had all these other stims that I do. We've got our, if you've heard clicking this entire episode, that's because we've been playing with stim bags under the table. But essentially these are stim toys that my close friend Cody Lukens created for neurodivergent folks. And they're these really amazing fidget toys that are kind of designed to be for neurodivergent people. They're pattern based. They're not like mindless, where a lot of fidget toys are like you just pop it or you squish it or whatever. But these are pattern based, and so it actually stimulates your brain rather than like allowing just like this mind numbing idea. And coming to New York, I gave my mom a set of them to see if she actually enjoyed using them. And what do you think of them?
I think they're absolutely awesome.
And they stimulate my brain in a way that I don't think any other fidget toy ever has, which is why you will see me with these in almost every video I post. I will be holding them. You've seen me with them every single day nonstop, right?
Oh, nonstop.
Nonstop. Yeah, but this video is sponsored by StimMags, and so if you wanted to get yourself a set, you go to StimMags and use the code Honeyman, and you'll get 15% off of these.
Do I get to keep this?
You do get to keep those. Kind of wrap up all these things we were talking about. Being in New York, how have you enjoyed this very overstimulated city?
Oh my gosh. It's been absolutely fantastic. I loved the shows that we went to, the unique neighborhoods that we've gone to. We both were commenting about what a community-oriented city this is, and how friendly, or how people seem to be able to really connect with each other. which we don't necessarily see in Vancouver, which, you know, has, people complain it's a bit of a lonely city, but here there's all this opportunity to connect, and I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, I felt that
like
too.
This place here.
Yeah, the fact that there's so many community parks and like places for people to meet and hang out, and like everyone's so friendly and open to just like,
and lots of places to sit, lots of, you know, chairs and benches, and yeah, it's a great environment.
We did both say that we couldn't last living here though. It is so hyper stimulating. Like it is a lot all the time, and we went to the American Natural History Museum.
While amazing,
it was maybe not the best place to be on a rainy Saturday.
It was very crowded.
It was loud. We both wore our loops the entire time, and then partway through I said, "Mom, take out one of your loops," and she was like, "Holy shit!" Like this is
I didn't
crazy.
say that, but
I interpreted. But yeah, it's been a really, really fun trip, and I'm excited to go back to my very quiet house and relax there after this.
Yeah, me too. I kind of joked about how I wore my noise canceling headphones in my quiet house at home and noticed that. But here, wow, what a difference.
Yeah.
It's just a constant buzz, isn't it?
Constantly.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
but
a lot.
Cool.
Very cool, very different. It's nice to
very
have,
cool.
It's nice to have like a complete contrast of living. So yeah, well, thank you for watching. Again, check out Stim Mags in the link in my bio, and we will see you next time. Maybe not my mom, but I will definitely see you next time.
Definitely not your mom.
Okay, thanks for joining. Bye.
Bye.